Coming up next, Spokane Public Schools Board of Directors and Superintendent take your questions on educating Spokane. Welcome to Educating Spokane. I'm Terren Roloff. Tonight, our Board of Directors is taking questions about Spokane Public Schools. If you have a question, we hope you'll call the number on your screen or email or text us at es@ksps.org. We encourage you to share your name and phone number in case we need to get back to you if time runs short. Our guests from the Board of Directors are President Bob Douthitt.
Hey, Terren.
Vice President Dr. Jeffery Bierman.
Evening, Terren.
Director Sue Chapin.
Hello.
Joined by Superintendent of Spokane Public Schools, Dr. Nancy Stowell.
Hi, Terren.
Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
And we have had so much news the last few weeks even, so I thought we'd start off with some of those tidbits of information, starting with the levy passing in February.
It's huge news.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's just a great show of support from our community, and we appreciate their confidence in us and promise that we will use it wisely for the benefit of the kids.
And not just the support of the community in voting for the levy, but also the work the community did in helping, the information get out to everybody and support in trying to work towards the levy. It was phenomenal support. So
Absolutely.
We passed a 62.46%, which was one of the highest pass rates in the entire area.
Yeah.
And there were like 14 levies out there. So I think we should be very thankful to this community for stepping forward in support of the children. So it's very positive what they were able to do for us.
Some other really big news is our graduation rate just came out from the state, and that grew unbelievably.
Yeah, that's what, 77%, and last year was 68, and last year it was up considerably from before that. So that's gone up quite a bit over the last several years. We're above what state average, above
We are
other
just a
large
little
districts.
bit above the state average,
Yeah.
but we're above.
Yeah,
and the dropout rates continue to go down as well.
Yes.
So more kids finishing, more kids staying in. Both good news.
And I do like to remind people, because there was so much talk about 1 in 3 Spokane students drop out of school. Well, we know that's not true. It's about 16% now, and we're continuing to work on that. And a large percentage of that 16%, I think Dr. Bierman, you showed us, was really many of those kids are going for GEDs, are
Right.
being released to get a GED, and that counts as a dropout for us, even if they complete
Right.
and get the GED. So we feel that we've really made huge strides thanks to the leadership from our principals and some of the work that Fred Schrump and Joan Boyer have been doing.
Yeah, a huge amount of effort in keeping track of students and knowing where they are. And that's the key thing, I think, when you see that 16% dropout rate. People will think those are kids that just disappeared, but they're kids that we know where they are. The vast majority went on for GED releases. So,
And congratulations to you for the programs that have been put in place to allow the principals those opportunities. And maybe you'd like to talk just a little bit about those, explaining why we have seen such an increase in our graduation rate.
well, I think a big step has been moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to high schools and thinking that one single program is going to be the key to success for every single kid. And so we've made a real conscious effort to add a lot of different programs to fill those different niches of students that needed something different to be able to succeed and get to where they want to go. On track, community school, so many different programs that we have now that we didn't used to.
And I think the fact that those programs that you mentioned, Jeff, are both full tells us that we've had a need. And so those students now will go on, and they are graduating. I think the rate at On Track is a little over 90% of the students are graduating on time, so that's pretty significant. And in addition to that, we've done some things in our comprehensive high school, some interventions to help kids get back on track who are credit deficient. We call the program at middle school and high school I CAN. individual credit attainment now, something like that, the acronym. But that's also a program that helps kids recover credits once they get behind. So that's been very helpful too.
And at the first sign they're going to get behind, especially at the middle school level, because what we know is the biggest indicator that a student's not going to graduate on time is if they become credit deficient in 9th grade. And oftentimes it's the same students who were not being successful in their classes at middle school. And so we've made a focused effort at middle school this year to put some supports in place and hold kids accountable, that they need to pass those basic classes and learn the content.
In fact, I've been invited up to Ferris right after spring break to meet with some students in the ICANN program who want to thank us for providing that option for them.
Good.
So I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah. You mentioned the community school, and I just want to say that in today's newspaper there was
That's
a great article about the community school. So if folks want more information, they can go there or to our website. Another big piece of news was we have a Washington State Elementary Principal of the Year right here in Spokane. Bob, you were there at the announcement. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's Bev Lund at Whitman, and so she is Principal of the Year for all of the state of Washington. And it was really kind of a cool ceremony because just when she was notified, because all the students in the school knew it and were keeping it such a secret, and were so proud and showing us how they'd learned to zip their lips and throw away the key and
lock it and throw away the key.
different little symbols and for different classrooms, but they're all gathered there in the gymnasium and quiet as could be, in on this big deal to surprise the principal, which she truly was shocked that somehow they managed to get 500 students into the
To keep a secret.
to keep a secret and to move them all into the gym while another person was keeping her occupied, you know. So it was a good ceremony.
And how many elementary schools
Well, I
are
was
in the
just going to
state?
say there are 2,000 elementary schools, so it's pretty significant that Whitman Elementary has the Principal of the Year. That's quite an accomplishment. So
Yeah, and selected by her peers.
yeah. A few years ago,
quite
we
an
had the
honor.
middle school Principal of the Year, and that was Chris Lynch when she was at Shaw. So it's wonderful to have our principals recognized for that hard work that
Right.
goes on.
And Whitman obviously has done fabulous
Oh,
work
yes.
and has received lots of accolades this last year or so
Yeah.
for that work from the state. So probably was a major part of why she
I
got
think
that.
it was. It's a high poverty school, receives Title I funds, but has made some significant advancement in reading and mathematics and been recognized at the state national level for that. So.
And then also just this last weekend, I believe, we had 4 of our high schools go to the National Cyber Patriot competition. And Jeff, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that is.
I mean, they cleaned up.
They did.
To have one district have as many teams that are participating in the finals as what we did, and to do as well as they did. I mean, swept places in many of the categories. And what they do is really cool. And fun stuff for kids to be doing, and just a nice example of the types of things that can engage kids into programs and keep them excited about school.
So it's preventing hacking? Is that
Yeah, yeah. And you know,
Computer hacking.
throw all kinds of problems at them and things. And it's hard to think about how you train for that, but obviously they've done well.
Yeah, and they're keeping it a secret so they can continue to win. So I think there are 24 schools in the national competition.
We had 7 teams.
Yeah, that's right.
7 teams out of 24 teams
Yeah,
that went to the
yeah,
national.
that's pretty
And
amazing.
Rogers and
4
LC
from
took
Rogers.
Right.
first and second in 2 different divisions, so it was fabulous. And North Central and Ferris did really well too. So yeah, big week, big month.
I think one of the other recognitions that we want to celebrate is that North Central is receiving an opportunity to pilot the Cambridge Diploma Project. And it is developed by the College Board, and it's a program for juniors and seniors, a very rigorous program, a seminar, and a very extensive research project that the students do when they graduate, plus they have to, of course, take advanced placement courses. And colleges now are looking at how they will grant either advanced credit or recognize that kind of diploma. It's supposed to be kind of the rival for IB, although I think this district's still going to look at maybe an IB program, but right now this is what we're going to pilot.
Yeah, and the College Board is the group that does AP classes, and so we know that it's really an honor. It's one of how many schools?
Less than 20 schools nationwide, I think, that we're going to be piloting it.
Yeah,
and North
and it
Central's one of
was,
them.
they were selected. It wasn't, so it's quite an honor to participate.
Absolutely. We also had the the state put out the Washington Achievement Index. I think I'm saying that correctly.
That's right.
And we
sometimes
had-
we call it the Accountability Index, but
Okay.
it really is, you're right, it's called
Okay.
the Washington State Achievement Index.
And we had 5 schools who are on that list.
Yeah, they got exemplary, that's the highest
3
rating.
comprehensive high schools.
Right.
I mean, which is something for districts across the state. You don't see a lot. So,
Yeah, we didn't see many high schools at all across the
Right.
state, and we had 3 of them.
and
Yeah, so
and
that represented 10% of our schools, I mean, because we have 50 schools, and statewide, it's only about 5% that are exemplary, so we were twice that. And plus, not only exemplary, but the rest of our schools all scored well. And,
That's right.
right. And several schools that got Washington Achievement Awards, which are based off the Achievement Index. I mean, Wilson, Moran Prairie, Balboa, all received awards for multiple years in a row. So, and that's what that's given to, is not just for 1 year of high achievement on that index, but multiple years of high achievement.
Right. And let's talk just briefly before we go into some of the questions about going back to that graduation rate, because you mentioned 3 comprehensive high schools. Those were LC, North Central, and Shadle. And Shadle's graduation rate is really quite amazing.
It's about 87% at Shadle Park, their graduation rate. I think it's the highest of our comprehensive high schools. So it has been for the last number of years. So we're learning from Shadle about what they're doing. One of the things they do very well is what Jeff talked about. They're tracking their students on a regular basis to find out, if kids aren't coming to school, what's going on, if they're failing classes, what's going on. And so they've been very diligent about that, and it's paid off, I think.
yeah, they're on top of things very quickly. Say if a student's missing class or whatever, or having trouble in classes, the counselors are talking with other administrators and
That's right.
teachers, and there's a lot of early coordination. And so that sort of ties into one thing we're doing as a study that we should be getting the results on, within a couple of weeks, I think. But we've commissioned a study for early warning indicators based on historical data within our specific district. And sort of, I guess you could say Shadle's done its kind of informal early warning indicators work for the last couple of years at a really good level.
And then I think the really good news, it's all good news, but certainly with Rogers, having come from a graduation rate of about 50%, that put them on the list of one of the lowest performing high schools in the state for graduation rate. And as a result, they've received several $1 million in federal money, but their graduation rate now is up to 76%.
Wow.
And that's from...
And that's before the grant even kicks in.
That's right, that's
Yeah,
right. The
that's
grant's
great.
just kicking
That's
in
so
this
exciting.
year, and they've
Yeah.
already got up to 76%. So they're really doing some things to make sure that kids have options and that they're tracked and followed.
All right. So
Can I say one other thing?
briefly, because
Okay.
we only have a few more minutes left. Actually, I'm already
Well,
hearing
just I'm
that.
impressed that also we're an AP honor roll district, which only 3% of the districts in the country are, and that's for getting both our participation increase and our average score to increase. And so usually if you'd increase participation a lot, you'd expect the average score to go down, but we've been able to get them both to go up. So that, anyway,
That's huge.
That's huge
That
too.
is.
So.
One last thing before the questions, the superintendent search, because sadly our superintendent is leaving us, retiring. So we do have a graphic with some dates, and maybe just like to tell us, Bob, a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what dates are up on the graphic. Okay, so those are the April dates for the finalists. We're actually going to be interviewing semifinalists tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, and then choose from that by Monday at least 3 finalists, and then those 3 finalists will be coming back April 10th, 11th, and 12th. And during that period of April 10th, 11th, and 12th, they'll be meeting with different components of the district and community. And so we've got our community forums at 5:30 each of those evenings at Glover and Sacagawea.
Very
Come
good.
out and meet our finalists.
Yes, that's going to be great. All right, so let's go to our questions now. Joan asks, for various reasons, some schools have ended electives such as art, woodshop, and even creative writing. What are the plans to remedy this?
Oh, I'd like to jump in on that. We have electives at all of our high schools, and we definitely have art at all of our high schools. The smaller classes, all of our electives, whether the class is held or not depends upon if enough students sign up for them. And so it's not an intent to eliminate those classes. The decision is based on student interest. And if the student interest isn't there, or if there's insufficient interest, then that's why sometimes those classes have disappeared. So if students want the classes and they sign up for them, they will be there.
Very good. All right. Okay, Gary asks, what input does the public have, and what is the board's position on standards-based grading, I believe is the intent there, and curriculum?
Well, the standards-based grading and reporting is something that's really working its way through the district right now. It's in process, I would say. The board's only had one report so far. There's a working committee within the district that's looking at standards-based grading and reporting policies.
This is for secondary.
This is for secondary. We've already got standards-based grading in place in the elementaries, and so this is looking to extend that towards secondary. So we haven't seen a lot of it at the board level. Certainly, there are a lot of positives that we're looking at trying to gain from this. I think from what I've heard, a lot of the underlying intent is to try to develop more consistency in grading from one classroom to another, and to give us the institutional ability to respond to students' needs a little more accurately, a little more quickly, so that we know from one classroom to another which students are struggling, which ones are ready to accelerate, which ones need additional intervention. So at the classroom level, I think those are some of the key initiatives that we're looking for in standards-based grading and reporting that the committee's trying to ensure. And then there's a second part, I think, to standards-based grading and reporting in how is the district report out grades and achievement to our external community, which needs to be addressed as well.
And it's not about eliminating grades, and I think some people think that's what it's going to be, but it's really, we'll still have letter grades, but it's being clearer about what the learning is that students are being graded on, so the standards will actually appear on the report card, as well as the work habits of students. Those will also appear on the report card. So, but it's a work in progress. A committee of what? You went one. It's about 100 people.
It's a big committee.
It's a big committee of teachers, and there are a few parents on the committee. So it's as Jeff said, it's working its way through.
But it's a good question to bring up and talk about, because in doing work like this, we do have a grading system in place that's working for a lot of teachers and a lot of kids. And so as we're trying to address some problems and shortcomings in the system, I think a phrase I heard before was, we don't want to do any damage either. We don't want to do harm. So trying to find ways to address the issues we have, improve the way our district's able to respond to student needs, and to help community stakeholders understand, as we've already heard, some of the remarkable achievements that our students have, without harming some of the positives we already have in the system now.
All right.
Yeah, and I just bring up the point that if anybody ever wants to comment on anything, they're always welcome to come down to our board meetings, which we had one just last night, but twice a month, and comment on anything. So
That's right.
So I'd invite anybody that has an opinion on standards-based grading to do that.
All
But
right.
don't come running down April 11th, because we won't have a
Yeah.
board
Okay,
meeting because
right.
of the interviews.
April
Yeah.
25th.
All right.
Next one.
We have 3 callers, so I want to get to those, but we still have one that came in earlier from Anne, a question saying, how do you reconcile the concept of meeting individual student needs through differentiated instruction with one-size-fits-all graduation requirements?
Well, like we were talking just earlier, one of the things we've really tried to do is put some more flexibility and some more options in place for kids to to graduate and to help meet the success that they're looking for in high school. So we've added other programs, other ways of getting diplomas, of completing their studies, the on-track, community school, the career and technical diploma. But I think I don't think it's fair to say that even our general degree requirements are very restrictive. We require 22 credits to graduate. Out of those 22 credits, 6 are electives for students to take whatever classes they want that best align with whatever their interests and career goals are. Of the 16 that we require specific courses for, 14, 15 of those are required by the state. So, there are some state requirements for all students to complete to get a degree, and we're obviously going to require those, but there's still a lot of flexibility there. One of our concerns as a board, there was a Core 24 talking about changing graduation requirements. The state was looking to do away with a lot of that flexibility and leave kids requiring 24 credits to graduate, and wasn't it only 2 or 3 credits of electives in all of that?
That's
Yeah,
right.
it was 3 or 4, but
So-
it was
Yeah, we
very
were pretty,
restrictive.
yeah, and we as a board were very cohesive and vocal about that, how we really believe that's not what our community would support, and that it wasn't in the best interest of kids, because we know it's the flexibility that helps students engage in school and find the things they're passionate about, the classes that they enjoy.
Those electives that
Those
Macaulay
electives
was
that we
mentioned.
talked about earlier, like art and music and foreign language and things like that.
And to ensure those students the academic capacity, class-wise, to be able to develop the backgrounds and foundations they need to be able to move on and excel in whatever that chosen field is. And
Right.
we can't meet the range of student interests we have with a single cookie-cutter approach.
But one thing Jeff did mention that I want to make sure got pointed out clearly to this caller was we did in fact create a different diploma last year called the Career and Technical Alternative Diploma, which rather than requiring 19 credits rather than requiring 22, requires the state minimum of 19, but it also requires a certain sequence of career and technical
Skill Center.
courses to be taken at the Skills Center. So there are in fact 2 distinct pathways.
Good.
Looking at it that way.
All right. Brian would like to know if Spokane Public Schools offers a program to prepare pre-kindergarten children for elementary school.
I don't believe we have any district offerings.
We don't. The only pre-K program we have is through special education. We have a pre-kindergarten program. But certainly early learning is a conversation that's happening nationally, and you're seeing some states go to 4-year-olds going to school in a kind of a preschool experience being required. We would just be grateful to have all-day kindergarten for all of our students. I think our families would like to have that too. And right now we are limited with state funding and only have, do we have 14 schools now that have all-day K? I can't remember.
It's
but
14 or 15.
Yeah, 14 or 15, and we have 34 elementary, so we have a ways to go yet. So that would be our first goal, is to get all-day kindergarten. But I do know we have outreach to our community child care centers, and we work with them about the skills that are helpful for our children to have as they come into kindergarten. So I know that relationship exists.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, back in 2008, 2009, there was a basic education funding task force that was taking a very comprehensive look at what should education look like. And they did, in fact, look at, well, should we be putting early learning in there or not? And they decided no. So there's no, at this point,
Mandate.
funding from the state for any kind of early learning. That being said, it's definitely, as we go to all-day K, one issue that comes out sometimes is a lot of the kids really have a little bit of difficulty adjusting at the
Once in a while.
to that at that time. And
long
so
day.
the more early learning that exists, the better prepared kids would be. But
All right.
That's true.
Michelle says, or asks, when will Spokane offer an academic-based summer school for grades 6 through 12?
Well,
if you're
part
going
of,
to take the summer, we've had some discussions on summer school.
Well, and there's some planning to have some summer school offerings to help prepare kids for the accelerated 7th and 8th grade curriculum this year, I think is something we're
Yeah.
looking at trying to give those kids an opportunity to better prepare and be ready for that step up to middle school, in particular ones who are looking to do those accelerated courses. I don't know if you have more info on those.
Well, we're calling it a summer bridge program, the idea that we bridge students from 6th grade to 7 and from 7 to 8 as far as preparing them for some of those accelerated classrooms, giving them some scaffolding for that. But summer school has always been a bit of an issue because of the funding. We're not funded for summer school, so we have to, when we do it, we either have to use state funds like, or federal funds like Title and state funds like LAP, but we just don't have the resources unless we charge tuition for summer school. But we're continuing to look at ways to, and the board has funded some of the programs that we've had in the past to make sure that kids have an opportunity to catch up on credits mainly. But the whole idea of being able to take a broad range of courses is not something we've been able to do for a while.
All right.
Well, and then didn't we have fairly abysmal attendance?
Yeah, it's a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, so you put the money into creating the program and then people don't attend.
Right.
It's a waste.
All right, we really are just about out of time. So I want to mention 2 special events coming up: the Rock and Art dance and art auction of some of our students and staff members' art on May 4th at 7 o'clock at the Lincoln Center, and people can go to SpokaneSchoolsFoundation.org for that ticket information. Very reasonable price. And then the Band and Strings Spectacular of our 5th and 6th graders on May 22nd at the Spokane Arena, and that's free. We also want to talk about folks preparing for summer and fall opportunities. We have a Spokane Virtual Learning Program that folks can find on our homepage. And on that page, there's a link that will take them directly to the SVL programs. And to the right of the photo there is fall and summer information, and underneath is health and fitness information. And
Yeah.
Sue, I know you feel strongly about that.
I do. I get a lot of questions from parents about this. What can my student do to help open up some of those slots during the school year in 9th grade so they can take more electives? And one thing we offer during the summer through SVL, Spokane Virtual Learning, is the option to take health and fitness in the summertime and use the beautiful outdoor weather to get their physical activity in. So if you go to our website and look at SVL, you'll see that option, as well as the option that's been created for student athletes to use their physical activity of their sport or whether it's dance or swimming or organized sports at the school level as part of their PE requirement. So
All right.
encourage families to check that out.
Okay.
It really is a handy way to add another elective opportunity for students to be able to take an extra class in high school. So.
Very good. Well, we are out of time, so I'd like to thank our volunteer for answering our phones, and I'd like to thank you for calling in and joining us this evening. And if you'd like to watch this show again, it re-airs at 8 o'clock on Comcast Cable Channel 17, and we would be glad to have you join us for that and for our future shows. Thanks again for joining us tonight.